Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to another lore reading. We are here on the godofwar.fandom.com wiki. The last time I read directly from the game, but I figured it might make a little more sense to just come here. Something a little more formal. We'll see how it goes. There's a lot of information here, so I might not get through as much as I would in the other format, but I think that's okay. So we're going to come down here to the characters list because I'm not going to read the plot of the game. And I'm going to start with Kratos, the titular protagonist of the God of War series, the Spartan God of War. I came to these lands to escape my past, to start a new life. I can hide no longer. I do not want this war. We have suffered enough. Prophecy did not lead us here, nor will it win this battle. Wars are won by those that are willing to sacrifice everything. If that is the cost of vengeance, so be it. That is a quote from the newest game. Kratos, Greek, I'm not going to translate that, known by the Jotnar as Farbati, I think is how you say that, is the title character and protagonist of the God of War series. Born in Sparta, Kratos is a demigod son of Zeus and is later a full god himself by becoming the God of War with incredible superhuman godlike power and combat skills. Kratos was once a respected soldier and Spartan general until he lost his wife and daughter when he killed them, albeit by accident, under Ares' command, earning him the nickname the Ghost of Sparta, after which he renounced his service to the war god, eventually killing him and ascending to godhood by becoming the new and full God of War. That was a long sentence. Kratos, as the God of War, began to exact revenge against his father, the Olympians, and the Titans who betrayed him, remaining forever a full god in the process before departing to another realm. After successfully exacting his vengeance, Kratos wandered into the world of Norse gods by setting down in Midgard in ancient Norway, where he married another woman named Faye and bore a son named Atreus. After his second wife's death, both Kratos and Atreus would embark on a journey to spread her ashes at the highest peak of all the 9 realms. Greek mythology. Though Kratos is not a character in actual Greek mythology, there is a being in myth named Kratos. The creators of the original 2005 God of War coincidentally chose the name Kratos, given the fact that the character Kratos was given his name at a late stage in the development of the original 2005 game, after the character had already been fleshed out. Unaware of the actual mythological god named Kratos appearing in Prometheus Bound, the same Greek word meaning strength, of which the mythological figure Kratos is the personification. Stig Asmussen, the director of 2010's God of War 3, called the naming coincidence a happy mistake. Seems like a really big coincidence. Kratos, or Kratos, is the son of Pallas and Styx. Kratos and his siblings Nike, Victory, Bia, Force, and Zealous, Glory, are all essential personifications of a trait. Kratos is characterized as brutal and merciless, repeatedly mocking both Hephaestus and Prometheus and advocating for the use of unnecessary violence. He defends Zeus' oppressive rule and predicts that Prometheus will never escape his bounds. Kratos and his sister Bia are best known for their appearance in the opening scene of Aeschylus' Prometheus Bound, acting as agents of Zeus. Kratos compels the mild-mannered blacksmith god Hephaestus to chain Prometheus to a rock as punishment for this theft of fire. Norse mythology. We already said Kratos is known by the Jotnar as Farbati, literally meaning cruel striker, and sometimes interpreted as lightning. Fitting. Farbot is the Jotun husband of Laufey or Null and the father of Loki, and possibly also of Helblindi and Bilster. Bilster. He is attended in the Prose Edda, written in the 13th century by Snorri Sturluson, and in the poetry of Viking Age skalds. Farbati's name and character are thought to have been inspired by the observation of the natural phenomena surrounding the appearance of wildfire. For the record, I know I'm going to mispronounce a lot of this stuff. Just try to forgive me. Biography. Early life, Greek timeline. Born in the Greek city-state of Sparta, Kratos is the demigod son of the king of gods Zeus and a mortal woman named Callisto, with unique superhuman godly powers and abilities, although he would remain unaware of who his father was for most of his life. Outraged at Zeus for fathering yet another bastard child, Hera ordered Kratos' execution on the day he was born, but the king of the gods took pity on the child and refused, leaving him in Sparta to be raised by Callisto. Like all Spartan youth, Kratos, with an incredible set of superhuman godly powers, unknown that he is Zeus' son and the one whom he inherited the abilities, was monitored and trained for combat by the Spartan authorities. Those who were deemed fit were to stay and be trained as Spartan warriors, while those who were deemed unfit would be sent to the mountains, probably Mount Tagatus, to fend for themselves. Already feisty and aggressive at a young age, Kratos trained together with his young brother, Deimos, who is also a demigod, as they dreamed of joining the Spartan army when they grew up. Around this time, Zeus began to hear prophecies foretelling his demise at the hands of one of his sons, a marked warrior. Hoping to circumvent the cycle of patricide before it was too late, Zeus sent Ares and Athena to hunt down and dispose of the boy who would one day rise up against him. Ares, noticing Deimos' strange birthmarks, decided to invade Sparta with an army of centaurs to take him to Thanatos, the god of death. Kratos tried to save his brother, but Ares punched him into a pile of wood, leaving him with a permanent scar over his right eye. Insulted by the mortal's defiance, Ares prepared to kill the young Spartan, but was stopped by Athena. The goddess reminded Ares that they had what they were looking for and apologized to Kratos before disappearing into the flames. The loss of his brother left an indelible mark on Kratos, as he vowed to never falter again. In honor of his brother, Kratos had himself tattooed in the exact image of Deimos' birthmark. Kratos would later forget that it was Ares and Athena who took his brother from him, and wouldn't realize it until after Ares' death. As Kratos came of age, he became a respected member of the Spartan army, eventually marrying Lysandra and siring a daughter, Calliope. Quest for the Ambrosia and rising through the ranks of the Spartan army. Shortly after her birth, Calliope contracted a plague, causing the Spartan authorities to deem her weak. Spartan law required that she be thrown into a chasm and left to die. Determined to save his daughter, Kratos set out on a journey for the Ambrosia after hearing from an elder of his exceptional healing capabilities. But unbeknownst to Kratos, Ares had chosen him to be his champion in the Wager of the Gods, a contest with the ultimate goal being the capture of the Ambrosia. The victor would have statues erected in their honor all throughout Greece. A battalion of Spartans accompanied Kratos on his quest, including Captain Nikos. Along the way, he encountered a healer who gave him the flames of Apollo. Kratos eventually encountered Poseidon's champion, Herodias, and killed him as the Spartans conquered his army and stole their ship. Enraged at Kratos for costing him the wager, Poseidon unleashed a handful of hazards at sea in the hopes of killing him, but failed. Later on, Kratos encountered Artemis' champion, Phthia, and killed her as well. with her army also falling victim to the Spartans, although Artemis did not retaliate. In fear that Kratos would defeat his champion, Ulrich, the barbarian king, Hades sent a torrent of fire through the sky. Although he failed to kill Kratos, he succeeded in killing many of Kratos' men, including Captain Nikos. As he found the Ambrosia, Kratos encountered Cheiron, the Helios champion, and killed him as well. Ulrich and his barbarian army battled the Spartans for the Ambrosia, as Ulrich's father was very ill and in need of the elixir. After a grueling battle between the two leaders, Kratos successfully captured the Ambrosia at the cost of his own men and summoned an army of rocks to continuously torture Ulrich. Kratos then returned to Sparta and healed Calliope, obtaining the rank of captain from the king of Sparta. At some point after becoming captain, Kratos would command a young soldier named Atreus, who remained hopeful even in the darkest times. When the day came for Atreus to lay down his life in battle, he did it without hesitation and saved many others, earning Kratos' respect. The captain carried Atreus home on the soldier's shield and personally buried him with full honors of Spartan custom, acknowledging him as the only Spartan who ever had a smile on his face, even in battle. Birth of the Ghost. Sometime later, Kratos became a Spartan general, and as a general and a demigod, unknowingly, Kratos won battles against other armies with brutal but effective tactics. However, his pride and hunger for power grew greater with every victory. Despite Lysandre's pleas, Kratos vowed to continue his bloody conquest until the glory of Sparta is known throughout the world, spending time with his family only when he was able to return to Sparta. Kratos and his army finally met their match when they encountered the merciless barbarian tribes from the east, led by Kratos' old enemy, Ulrich. Outnumbered and overpowered, the Spartans quickly found themselves on the losing end of the battle, with Kratos himself left at the mercy of Ulrich, the barbarian king, who sought revenge against Kratos for inadvertently causing the death of his father. In desperation to save his life and refusing to admit defeat, Kratos called out to Ares, the god of war, pledging his allegiance in exchange for victory. Ares accepted the offer, proceeding to kill all of the barbarians, giving Kratos the Blades of Chaos as a sign of his servitude, and immediately after receiving them, he used the Blades of Chaos against Ulrich and decapitating him, ending the battle in Spartan victory. For a time, Kratos served Ares loyally, raiding villages, slaughtering innocents, and spreading chaos in his name. Under the god of war's influence, Kratos became utterly ruthless and gradually lost all semblance of the humanity he once had. One day, during a raid on a village of Athena's followers, Ares secretly transported Lysandra and Calliope to a nearby temple. Ignoring the village oracle's warnings, Kratos entered the temple and slaughtered everybody inside in a fit of blind rage, including his wife and child, whom he believed were still in Sparta. Ares justified this as a means of severing Kratos' remaining attachments to the world of mortals, thereby molding him into the perfect warrior. Stricken with horror and grief at what he had done, Kratos left the bodies of his family to be burned within the temple, ultimately renouncing his allegiance to the god of war. The oracle cursed Kratos for forcing him to forever wear the ashes of his dead family on his skin. From that day forward, Kratos became known as the Ghost of Sparta, his skin now pale as the moon from the ashes that coated him. To other mortals, he was now marked by his ghostly white skin. The knowledge of his past actions often repulsed them to the point where they would rather die than allow him to save their lives. He became known as the personification of cruelty and selfishness. Word of this metamorphosis would spread even outside of Greece, as Norse god and advisor to Odin, Mimir, who would become a future ally to Kratos himself, would later on instantly recognize who Kratos was. Redemption and vengeance. For breaking his oath, Ares ordered the Furies to hunt down the ghost of Sparta and force him to once again serve the god of war. Meanwhile, Kratos finds himself in the abandoned village of Cura, where he is trapped in an illusion of his home in Sparta, with his blood oath inhibiting memories of him killing his wife and daughter. The Furies' oathkeeper, Orcos, appeared before him and encouraged him to see past the illusion, using Lyssandra's necklace and ring to break it. Although Kratos distrusted him, he followed Orcos' instruction to seek out Aletheia, the Oracle of Delphi. She had earlier been captured by Pollux and Castor, but Kratos killed them both and took the amulet of Ouroboros. He spoke with the dying oracle, who revealed Ares' plan to mold Kratos into a warrior capable of overthrowing Zeus, thereby allowing Ares to become the new king of Olympus. Kratos then traveled back to Cura, where he encountered Orcos once again. The Oathkeeper revealed that he is the son of Ares and Alecto, one of the three Furies. Orcos explained Ares' intentions to Kratos. As Zeus had forbidden the gods from waging war on one another, Ares sought to breed a warrior capable of destroying Zeus in his stead, so that Ares may usurp him and rule Olympus for himself. Disappointed in Orcos' complete lack of fighting skills, Ares disowned his son. Instead, Orcos became Oathkeeper of the Furies in an attempt to please his mother, Alecto. Ares saw in Kratos the makings of the warrior he needed to overthrow Zeus, and for that reason, he helped him against the barbarians that day. The murder of his family was meant to be one of three tests that would bind Kratos to Ares' will: the slaughter of one's enemies, the slaughter of innocents, and the slaughter of one's own family. Orcos did his mother's bidding as Oathkeeper and did not question her until Ares tricked Kratos into killing his family. Armed with this knowledge, Kratos took a ship to Delos. Once there, Kratos traversed a giant ruined statue of Apollo, where he was attacked by all three Furies in the ensuing confrontation. Kratos managed to cut off Megaera's arm, but Alecto used her power to capture him. Orcos appeared and freed Kratos, escorting him to another location, with Alecto vowing that he would never succeed. After a perilous journey, Kratos used the amulet of Ouroboros to fully restore the statue and retrieve the eyes from the lantern. But after completing the trials of Archimedes, he was once again ambushed by the Furies, who took him prisoner and steal both the eyes and the amulets. For 2 weeks, the Furies tortured Kratos in the prison of the damned. The Spartan eventually managed to free himself and pursued Megaera through the prison. She and Tisiphone attempted to misdirect him with an illusion of a brothel. When he went to sleep with a woman inside, he spotted a ring on her finger and realized that it was a trick. He responded by tackling Tisiphone, but Megaera intervened and insisted that Kratos belongs to her. Megaera released insects into Aegon's hands and mouth, mutating them into insect titan hybrids. Kratos retrieved the amulet of Ouroboros by killing Megaera and the Hecatonchires, only for Tisiphone to create an illusion of him being honored by the king of Sparta. Kratos saw through it, and, progressing further into the prison, found the scribe of Hecatonchires, the first mortal to ever be imprisoned by the Furies. The scribe revealed that the Furies were originally fair in their punishment and became ruthless only under Ares' influence. Making his way into Alecto's chamber, Kratos retrieved the Oathstone from Tisiphone's pet bird, Diamond. Upon entering the chamber, the Furies project another illusion, this time of Kratos' home in Sparta. He is nearly taken in by this, for he saw his wife and daughter again. He came close to sleeping with the image of Lysandra, but soon notices the ring on her finger, revealing her to be Alecto. She then tries to convince Kratos that he could live in this illusion forever if he rejoined Ares. However, noticing the eyes of truth hanging on her hip, he refused, preferring the truth to living a lie. Enraged, Alecto drops the illusion and threatens to execute him if he would not serve Ares. Kratos breaks free of her sludge trap and snatches the eyes from Alecto, who retreated back into her sanctum before she realized they were gone. Tisiphone joined Alecto as Kratos advanced on the remaining Furies. They created an illusion of a massive whirlpool, with Alecto transforming into a horrific sea monster. Using the eyes, Kratos broke through the Furies' illusions and forced Alecto back into her human form. As he advanced on the Fury Queen, Tisiphone dispatched Daimon once more, but Kratos simply used the eyes to destroy the bird. He proceeded to strike Tisiphone, shape-shifting between the forms of the king and Kratos himself as she belittled him. As he wrapped his hands around her throat, Tisiphone transformed into the bird of Lysandra, causing Kratos to briefly hesitate. Tisiphone then changed into the village oracle, telling Kratos that his family was not there by mere chance the night he killed them, before Kratos snaps her neck. With only Alecto left, Kratos drew his blades. The Fury Queen coldly tells him that the truth would only bring him pain before he plunges his blades into her chest. With her last breath, Alecto spitefully promises that her death would change nothing. With all three of the Furies dead, Kratos returned to his home in Sparta, where Orcos congratulated him on his victory. At the same time, he also revealed that he was made the new Oathkeeper, thereby maintaining Kratos' bond with Ares. He begged Kratos to give him an honorable death, as it would free them both from the god, to which Kratos initially refused, proclaiming that no more innocent blood should be spilled. Orcos' continuing pleas ultimately forced Kratos' hand. With this act, Kratos experienced the first of many nightmares, previously masked by his bond to Ares. This was the price he had to pay for breaking his oath. He also discovered his path to redemption through continual service to Olympus. Kratos proceeded to burn down his house, with the corpse of Orcos inside it. Service to the gods. Is this all you would have me do? Is there nothing else? For the next decade, Kratos faithfully served the gods of Olympus in whatever tasks they required of him. During the 5th year of his atonement, he joined the army of Attica in their struggle against the invading Persian army and the great beast they brought forth. After a lengthy battle, Kratos killed both the Persian king and the basilisk before asking the gods if they wished him to do more in his servitude. At that moment, the ghosts of Sparta saw the sun fall from the sky and vanish, leaving the world in darkness. Sensing a plot at work, Kratos followed the last remnants of light on the horizon, eventually reaching the temple of Helios in the city of Marathon. Upon consulting with Athena, Kratos realized that Helios, the god of the sun, had been kidnapped by an unknown force, allowing Morpheus, the god of dreams, to put the other Olympians in a deep slumber. With the gods of Olympus incapacitated, Kratos was tasked with finding and rescuing Helios before Morpheus could seize control of the land by covering Greece under the black fog. Fighting through Morpheus's minions, Kratos entered the temple of the sun god and, after learning of the events that transpired, was tasked by Eos, the sister of Helios, to awaken her brother's fire steeds, which would take Kratos to where Helios was being held prisoner. Having awakened Helios' steeds, Kratos was taken to the underworld where he saw Helios' glowing light in the distance, right before the Pillar of the World. Kratos fought his way through Hades' domain, acquired the mighty gauntlets of Zeus, entered Tartarus, and killed Charon, the ferryman of the dead. Kratos then discovered that the Titan Atlas had somehow escaped Tartarus and captured Helios. Throughout his journey, Kratos was plagued by illusions of his daughter, Calliope, and the song she played on the flute that he once gave to her. When Kratos reached the Pillar of the World and the Temple of Persephone that lay nearby, he had already forgotten his task, thinking only of reuniting with his daughter. He encountered Persephone, the queen of the underworld, who had been kidnapped by Hades and forced to wed him. She revealed that Kratos could be with his daughter again if he relinquished all of his powers to the Forsaken Tree. Desperate to see his daughter again, Kratos did as she asked, and she allowed him to enter the Elysium fields where he met with his daughter and was seen happy for the first time since he became the ghost of Sparta. Kratos willingly abandoned the gods to their fate, but Persephone appeared before him, revealing that it was she who had freed Atlas and asked him to capture Helios. With his help, she devised a scheme to destroy the Pillar of the World, thus killing the gods of Olympus and all of mankind as well. She taunted Kratos with the knowledge that he may live with his daughter for a short period, but would ultimately see her die again upon the completion of her plan. Kratos then forced himself to become the ghost of Sparta again by killing the innocent souls of Elysium and regaining his powers. Whilst giving pursuit to Persephone, he realized he would never have the chance to be with his daughter again. As he heard her crying behind him, his hatred for the gods of Olympus deepened. An enraged Kratos succeeded in killing Persephone and chaining Atlas to the ground above the Pillar of the World, thus completing his task. Before he left the underworld, Atlas asked Kratos if he truly believed that the gods would keep their promise. Kratos replied that it was the only thing he could hope for now, since he could not go back to Elysium. With the use of the fire steeds, Kratos then escaped the underworld, but found himself too exhausted from the journey and fell from the chariot to the ground below. He was saved by Athena and Helios, who then leaves him unconscious upon the cliffs overlooking the Aegean Sea. The final task. Ares, you will die for what you did that night. 10 years after beginning his service to the Olympian gods, Kratos was commissioned with killing the Hydra and bringing peace to the Aegean Sea. Along the way, Poseidon granted him the power of lightning and implored him to use it against the Hydra, and Kratos engages Hydra in a bloody battle. Hydra almost devours Kratos, but Kratos, thanks to his blood of divinity, uses superhuman strength to open the Hydra's mouth in order to emerge himself out before overwhelming Hydra. After a long and vicious battle, Kratos emerged victorious by impaling the Hydra's front head on the ship's mast. Entering the decaying Hydra's throat, Kratos retrieved a boat key from the ship's captain. For unexplained reasons, he refused to save his life and instead allowed him to plummet to his death. The ghost of Sparta celebrated his victory that night with wine and women, but continued to suffer from nightmares of his past deeds. Distraught, he approached one of Athena's statues and asked her when he would be free from his past. She told Kratos that his final task would be to find Pandora's box and use the power inside it to destroy Ares. Kratos, having finally been granted an opportunity for revenge against the god of war, asked Athena if the gods would take his nightmares away upon completing this task. The goddess, however, refused to provide a clear answer, and instead offered him an intentionally vague promise of forgiving his past sins. Nonetheless, Kratos interpreted this answer as a yes and set sail for Athens anyway. Arriving at the docks of Athens, Kratos made his way through the besieged city, killing countless minions of Ares in the process. Encountering Aphrodite in a nearby temple, Kratos decapitated the infamous Medusa, queen of the Gorgons, at her behest. In return, Kratos was granted the power to freeze his enemies where they stand. He later acquired lightning bolts from Zeus as well, using them to strike down a terrified Athenian guard after he refused to lower the bridge, thereby allowing Kratos to pass. Progressing further into the city, he briefly encountered the Athenian oracle, who was then kidnapped by a pair of harpies before she could speak to him. Giving chase, he soon found himself outside the oracle's temple, where he observed a gravedigger Later revealed to be Zeus digging a grave. Kratos inquired as to who would occupy it, to which the gravedigger answered that Kratos will. The ghost of Sparta is alarmed by this answer, but the gravedigger reassures him that all will be revealed in good time, and when all appears to be lost, I will be there to help. Progressing further into the temple, Kratos finds the oracle dangling from a nearby cliff and rescues her. She immediately suspects that Kratos is motivated by something other than a desire to do good and looks through his memories. The oracle is horrified by Kratos' past deeds and asks why Athena would ever call on someone like him. Kratos angrily grabs the oracle by the throat and throws her aside, telling her to stay out of his head. The oracle informed Kratos that Pandora's box could be found in Pandora's temple, located just beyond the Desert of Lost Souls on the back of the Titan Kronos. She warned the ghost of Sparta that none have ever survived Pandora's temple, but Kratos is unfazed. A statue of Athena appeared before Kratos at the desert entrance, telling him that he must follow the Song of the Sirens and destroy all three before he can progress further. After doing so, he finds the Titan horn and uses it to summon Kronos. Kratos begins to climb the Titan, arriving at Pandora's temple 3 days later. Just outside the temple's entrance, he notices a gatekeeper, who is revealed to be the undead spirit of the first mortal to ever attempt Pandora's temple, tending to a pyre of dead bodies. As punishment for his failure, the gods forced him to watch over the entrance for all eternity and burn the bodies of any soul foolish enough to try and conquer Pandora's temple. Believing Kratos would fail just like all the others, he disinterestedly wishes the ghost of Sparta good luck before opening the gates. As the Spartan made his way through the temple, he encountered both Artemis and Hades, from whom he gained the Blade of Artemis and the Souls of Hades, respectively. Along the way, he defeats countless monsters, including a giant armored minotaur, survives impossible traps, and sacrifices a caged Athenian soldier before finally reaching Pandora's box, being the first demigod ever to do so. However, this did not escape the notice of Ares, who responded by hurling a large broken pillar towards Pandora's temple, impaling Kratos. The Harpies collected Pandora's box and took it back to Ares, while Kratos died and fell into the underworld. But Kratos, due to his immortality, managed to wake himself up and fight his way out of the underworld as he plummeted to the river Styx. Kratos grabbed hold of the captain's leg and used it to climb to safety before kicking him down below into the river Styx. Reaching the top again, Kratos managed to escape the clutches of Hades via the same hole that the gravedigger had been digging earlier. He tells Kratos that Athena is not the only god watching over him, and that he still has one final task to complete before his sins are forgiven. Journeying through the now destroyed city of Athens, he reacquires Pandora's box from Ares and uses it to grow tremendously in size and gain a substantial amount of power in order to battle Ares on more even footing. Kratos engages Ares in a long, brutal battle, with Kratos gaining the upper hand as he proves to Ares that he's not immortal. After a vicious fight, Ares traps Kratos in a psychological void where demonic incarnations of himself attempt to kill phantom versions of his family. Kratos successfully fights them off, but watches helplessly as Ares strips him of the Blades of Chaos and used them to kill his family again. Kratos, now distraught and vulnerable, nearly met his end at the hands of Ares, but soon took notice of the Blade of the Gods and finally kills Ares with it. Though his past had been forgiven, the gods refused to relieve him of his nightmares. His last bit of hope taken from him, Kratos attempted to do something by jumping from a cliff. However, Athena had a different plan for the Spartan. She saved his life and offered him the now empty throne of the god of war on Olympus. Kratos accepted the offer, sat upon the fallen god's throne, and became the new god of war. As the god of war, My lord, Kratos, another city is ready to fall. Soon all shall know the glory of Sparta. Kratos entered Tartarus once again in search of the Ambrosia in order to destroy it, for the disciples of Ares desired to use it to resurrect their now dead god. Throughout his journey, Kratos received flashbacks of his first quest for the Ambrosia. Making his way through Tartarus, Kratos encountered and defeated a giant arachnid monster. After pulling his blades out from the beast, Athena spoke to him in an attempt to warn him about new dangers on the path he took once before. Kratos shrugged off her warnings, confident that nothing would stop him. Later, he encountered Athena again and was told by the goddess that it is now the dead he must fear. Again, Kratos ignored her warnings, proceeding to find the dead bodies of Spartan soldiers who had accompanied him on his earlier quest for the Ambrosia. Rising from the dead, they attempted to kill Kratos in retaliation for abandoning them, although he defeated them all. The island then revealed itself to be a monstrous beast named Gyges, who sought revenge against Kratos after 100 of his arms were burned off in a battle with Helios' champion. Kratos, however, incinerated Gyges with the flames of Apollo, destroying the Tree of Life and all of its ambrosia. He then left the island, knowing that the disciples of Ares would hunt him down for destroying the last hope they had at reviving their fallen god. Sometime later, Kratos experienced visions of his mother being held at the temple of Poseidon in Atlantis. En route to Poseidon City, Athena attempted to dissuade Kratos from his mission, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. His ship was then attacked by the Scylla. Chasing the monster off, he received another vision, this time of his childhood training with his brother Deimos. He entered the temple and encountered his long-presumed dead mother, Callisto, who assured Kratos that it is really her, to his shock. She then tells him that his father had taken her there and that Deimos is still alive, trapped and tortured in the domain of death. Both shocked and angered, Kratos asks who his father was and why she lied to him all those years ago. Before Callisto could tell him, she is transformed into a hideous beast, forcing Kratos to fight and critically wound her. Callisto used her dying moments to thank Kratos for setting her free and encouraged him to pursue Deimos in Sparta. Enraged over the gods having taken yet another member of his family, Kratos embarked on a journey to save his brother, defiantly ignoring Athena's orders that he turned back. At one point, Kratos encountered the Titan Thera, imprisoned inside a volcano, who told him he would be incapable of leaving if he did not free her. After forcefully imbuing the blades of Athena in the Titan's chest, Kratos obtained Thera's bane and left the volcano. In releasing Thera, Atlantis' fate was sealed. Upon his descent, he impaled the Scylla, who had been pursuing him relentlessly ever since his arrival, finally defeating the monster. Before returning home, Kratos found himself under attack by Erinys, Thanatos' daughter. Following Erinys' defeat, Kratos returned to Sparta, killing the Pyrrhus lion and dissenter before entering the temple of Ares. Then in the process of being converted into the temple of Kratos, where he would find the key to saving his brother. The Spartan then made his way back to the sinking city of Atlantis, although his route was fraught with danger as Poseidon had unleashed an enormous whirlpool at sea and attempted to blast Kratos from the sky in retaliation for the destruction of his city. Kratos survived Poseidon's assault, only to be contacted telepathically by the sea god via one of his broken statues, warning him that he would pay for what he had done to Atlantis. Sometime later, Athena inadvertently revealed to the Spartan that it was she, along with Ares, who had taken Deimos from him that day, justifying their actions on the grounds that he was a threat to Olympus. This revelation deepened Kratos' hatred for the gods even further. Pressing onward, Kratos entered the domain of death and the temple of Thanatos, where he finally found his brother Deimos. Kratos set Deimos free, only to be attacked by him, as Deimos blamed Kratos for not helping him when in dire need. Witnessing the battle from close by, Thanatos intervened and snatched Deimos. Barely able to stand from his fight with Deimos, Kratos followed Thanatos to the bluffs and quickly rescued Deimos from falling to his death. After being reunited and reconciling their differences, the Spartan brothers took arms and joined forces against Thanatos. The god of death taunted the brothers, recalling the oracle's prophecy that a marked warrior was destined to destroy Olympus. He comments that Zeus, Ares, and Athena chose the wrong marked warrior that day. It was Kratos who should have been taken away, not Deimos. Thanatos then said it didn't matter anymore, and that nothing Kratos does is of his own choosing. Kratos shouted that no one, not even the gods, decided his fate, to which Thanatos laughed and said the gods decide, and the sisters of fate make it so, further commenting that Kratos was nothing but a pawn in a game that he didn't know was being played. In a climactic battle, Thanatos took Deimos' life, only to have an enraged Kratos take his in return. Kratos then took the lifeless body of his brother to his grave. After putting Deimos in a grave dug by the enigmatic gravedigger, Kratos stated that his brother was now free. He once again attempted to jump at the bluffs, but ultimately relented, asking himself what he had become. The gravedigger, who had been close by, prophetically answered, "Death, the destroyer of worlds," before vanishing. Athena then pleaded with Kratos to forgive her, and offered to empower him to full godhood, but saw her pleas ignored as Kratos promised her that the gods would pay for their actions. Kratos began to isolate himself from the other gods and spent most of his time assisting Sparta in its conquest of Greece. During a siege on an unknown city, he was attacked by Argos, Hera's pet. Before he could defeat the beast, however, an unknown assassin killed it in his stead, apparently trying to destroy his reputation on Olympus. Kratos pursued the assassin, but saw his progress halted by the minions of Hades, causing him to believe that the assassin was Hades in disguise. This notion is further supported by the fact that Hades already resented Kratos for the death of his wife, Persephone. The god of war continued his pursuit, only to be stopped by Circe, a messenger of the god, who allowed the assassin to escape. On Zeus's orders, Circe told Kratos to cease his pursuit. Providing no valid reason, Circe only managed to infuriate the god of war. Kratos killed the messenger on the spot, instantly realizing that Zeus would not stand for this action. When Kratos sent his Spartan soldiers to conquer Rhodes, Athena implored him to stop, as the other gods grew wary of his destructive behavior. Kratos, as usual, ignored her warning and instead plunged down to earth, aiding his army and further destroying the city. An eagle soon appeared and robbed Kratos of his immense size and a significant chunk of his godhood powers, reducing him to the size of an ordinary human. Despite this, he retained some of his god powers, enabling him to easily defeat the warriors of Rhodes. The eagle imbued Kratos' god powers into the Colossus of Rhodes, which was then brought to life. Kratos fought a long and arduous battle with the giant until Zeus offered help in the form of the Blade of Olympus, which he himself used to end the Titan War. Infusing the remainder of his god powers and immortality into the blade, Kratos defeated the Colossus. As he shouted to the heavens, the statue's falling hand crushed him, knocking the Blade of Olympus out of his grasp. Severely wounded and stripped of all of his powers, Kratos knew his only hope of survival lay with the blade. Limping towards it, the eagle soon reappeared and revealed itself to be Zeus in disguise. Kratos originally believed Athena was responsible. Zeus informed Kratos that he didn't want to suffer the same fate as Ares, and demanded that Kratos surrender and serve him forever. However, when Kratos refused, Zeus attacked and killed him by driving the blade into his abdomen. Zeus would then proceed to use the blade's power to kill everyone else present during the Battle of Rhodes, most notably most of the Spartan warriors, much to Kratos' horror. In his dying breath, Kratos swore that Zeus would pay for his treachery. Changing his fate. You will never control your fate, Kratos. Kratos was dragged down by the arms of the underworld. The Titan, Gaia, who had been watching him his entire life, saved Kratos, sealed his wound, and gave him the strength to escape death once more. Kratos, who still had some god powers, managed to fight his way out from the underworld, resurrecting back to life, which doesn't sound right. He has instructed the last surviving soldier to return to Sparta and prepare for battle. Kratos then took Pegasus, a gift from Gaia, and attempted to fly back to Olympus so he could exact his revenge, but discovered that he could no longer enter Olympus as he was no longer a god. Instead, Gaia instructed Pegasus and Kratos to seek out the Sisters of Fate. She informed him that sisters had the power to travel back in time, which he could use to reclaim back his god powers, his statues as god, the Blade of Olympus, and take his revenge on Zeus. Kratos first traveled to Typhon's lair, where he met with Prometheus, who begged him to release him from his torment in the fires of Olympus. Kratos, after stealing Typhon's bane from the Titan, used it to break Prometheus's last chain, sending him down into the flames, burning him alive, and finally releasing him. His ashes granted him the power of the Titans. Kratos then made his way to the island of creation, where Pegasus was attacked by a pack of griffins. After defeating the undead soldier who led the pack of griffins, Kratos made a death-defying leap off of Pegasus and onto the island. As he continued his journey, he questioned Gaia over her reasons for aiding him. Gaia then tells him the story of the Titanomachy and how the Olympians betrayed her and overthrew the Titans. Armed with this knowledge, Kratos continued his quest and soon encountered Theseus, who guarded the steeds of time. Theseus laughed and mocked Kratos' quest to destroy Zeus and challenged him to a fight, wanting to see who was the greatest warrior in all of Greece. Theseus was defeated after Kratos skewed him with his own spear and repeatedly slammed the door shut on his head. Kratos then used the horse keeper's key to gain control of the steeds, moving the temple of the Sisters of Fate closer and connecting the two together. Kratos made his way through the Bog of the Forgotten, where he encountered an undead foe from his past, Ulrich the Barbarian King. Having escaped Hades' torment, he traveled to the Island of Creation for two reasons: to change his fate and exact revenge on Kratos. They engaged in a fierce duel, with Ulrich summoning the souls of the dead, including the captain, with his mighty hammer. Eventually, these souls were either destroyed, again including the captain, or absorbed by Ulrich, using them to increase his size. Ultimately, Kratos shrunk the king back down, seized Ulrich's hammer, and used it to crush his skull, killing him once more. Looking upon Ulrich's corpse, memories of Kratos' past came back to him, but he pressed on anyway. Entering Uriel's temple, he obtained the golden fleece from a wounded soldier, whom he then sacrificed by throwing his body under a cog, jamming it, which could deflect enemy attacks. Kratos used this weapon to defeat a nearby Cerberus and, eventually, Uriel himself. Enraged at Kratos for decapitating her sister Medusa, Uriel fought with great ferocity but was defeated when Kratos pulled her own head off as well. With the Gorgon sister dead, Kratos used Head of Uriel to turn his enemies into stone. Progressing further, he soon came across another statue of Athena, who implored him not to trust Gaia and to cease his quest for vengeance. As usual, Kratos ignored her warnings and pressed on. Soon afterward, Kratos encountered his half-brother Perseus, who was on a quest to save his beloved Andromeda from Hades. Perseus challenged the Ghost of Sparta to a fight, believing it would prove his worth to the Sister of Fate and allow him to rescue Andromeda. Or, if not that, would at least allow him to bathe in the glory of being the one to bring down the mighty Kratos. However, Perseus was no match for Kratos, who made short work of the legendary Greek hero by breaking all of his equipment and impaling him on a large hook. Kratos then took his shield and used it to enter the courtyard of Atropos. Reaching the Great Chasm, he was confronted by an elderly Icarus, who had, by this point, lost his sanity. Icarus tries to get Kratos to stop his quest, rambling on about how it is my test, while telling him that he would never make it across the chasm. Annoyed, Kratos tries to push him aside, but this does not deter Icarus. He continues to get in Kratos' way and yell about the futility of his quest, telling the Ghost of Sparta that this is my test, and that only he can fly across the chasm and receive an audience with the Sisters of Fate. Kratos takes hold of his throat and declares, "I will make it to the Sisters of Fate, and I will use your wings to do so." Icarus tackles Kratos, causing them both to fall off the ledge and plummet to the underworld. Their fight continued as they fell, but ended when Kratos ripped off Icarus's wings and drop-kicked him down into the underworld, sealing his fate. However, Kratos managed to fly to safety by landing on Atlas. Gaia then told him that he needed to return to the surface, prompting Kratos to travel across Atlas's body and destroy part of his chains. This relieved some of the Titan's burden, but called attention to Kratos' presence. He scolded Kratos for having the nerve to show his face to him again, after what he had done. Intent on crushing the former god for his imprisonment, Atlas ultimately ceased his attempt to kill Kratos when he revealed that he was now an enemy of Zeus, and sought to change his fate in order to destroy the king of gods. Atlas told Kratos more about the Great War and how it ended when Zeus created the Blade of Olympus. Atlas gave Kratos some of his power and lifted him back to the surface, where he continued his journey into the Palace of the Fates. There, he took 2 scholars hostage and forced them to read an incantation that Kratos himself could not read, before ultimately sacrificing them both. Soon afterwards, he encountered the last remaining Spartan warrior, only this time shrouded in darkness. With neither of them aware of who they were facing, both warriors engaged in battle, intending to reach the sisters themselves. Eventually, the last Spartan fell prey to Kratos' blades as they tumbled out of the stained glass window into the light, revealing their identities to each other. The Spartan warrior informed Kratos of the fact that Zeus had destroyed Sparta before succumbing to his wounds, causing Kratos to be overtaken with anger and shout to the heavens. Blinded by rage, he was then attacked by the Kraken, providing little resistance as it proceeded to strangle him. Held firm in his grasp, Kratos then saw an astral projection of his wife, which was actually Gaia in disguise, encouraging him to go on and tell him that Hades will torment him for all eternity if he dies. She told Kratos that the Titans wanted him to lead them into battle before empowering him with the rage of the Titans. Kratos, ultimately regaining his will to live, engaged the Kraken in battle and killed it. Then, using the Phoenix, he made his way to the sisters' main stronghold. Kratos entered the sisters' throne room and met with Lachesis, who told him that the fates decided upon the destinies of all, and how it was she who allowed him to come as far as he did. She then proclaimed that it was not his destiny to kill Zeus. By this point, Kratos had no interest in negotiation, telling her that they no longer had any control over his destiny, ultimately threatening to kill her if she did not let him pass. This enraged Lachesis, who then engaged the Ghost of Sparta in battle. Kratos almost immediately gained the upper hand and inflicted heavy damage on Lachesis, infuriating her even further. She summoned her sister Atropos, who took Kratos back in time to his battle with Ares, attempting to destroy the Blade of the Gods so that his past and present self would cease to exist. Kratos subdued her before teleporting himself back to the present. Lachesis grew even more frustrated and engaged once more, only now with the Atropos in tow. After a long and hard battle, he trapped them both in a time mirror and shattered it, imprisoning them for good. Kratos then proceeded on to Clotho, who implored him not to go forward with his manipulation of fate. Kratos, having pinned all of Clotho's lower body parts to the ground, ascended to the top platform and impaled her with one of her own instruments, instantly killing her. Kratos then took control of his own life thread in the Loom Chamber, proceeding back in time to the point where Zeus betrayed him. Once there, Kratos now having claimed his full godly powers and abilities back, becoming a full god once again, immediately charged at Zeus and tackled him. Shocked by Kratos' sudden reappearance, Zeus assumed that the Sisters of Fate had helped him somehow, but as Kratos pulled the blade of Olympus out of his past self, he claimed that all three sisters are dead. Zeus then commented that he had underestimated Kratos, but that he would not do so again. Both men charged at each other, engaging in a vicious battle through the skies before landing on the summit of Sacrifice, where Zeus soon reappeared in his full god form. Zeus summoned an army of sirens to aid him while hurling lightning bolts at Kratos, only for the ghost of Sparta to use the sirens to paralyze Zeus and plunge the blade of Olympus into his oversized hand. Infuriated, Zeus elected to shrink back down to mortal size and engage Kratos directly. The god eventually manages to take the blade away from Kratos, only to lose it once more as Kratos drives the blade into Zeus's abdomen and throws him against a nearby set of standing rocks. Zeus soon manages to swipe the blade of Olympus out of Kratos' hands a second time, but loses again when Kratos impales Zeus with the blade and throws him against another set of standing rocks. The ghost of Sparta then ascends the structure and drops the top slab onto Zeus, greatly infuriating the god. Zeus, having had enough, reverts to his full Olympian size and unleashes a powerful lightning storm on Kratos. Yielding defeat, Kratos put down the blade of Olympus and asked the king of gods to release him from his torment, to which Zeus responded, "I will release you from your life, my son, but your torment is just beginning," before moving in to kill the Spartan. However, this is revealed to be a trick by Kratos, who then deflected the blow, slammed Zeus's head against a nearby rock before pinning Zeus down with his blades. Taking the blade of Olympus back, Kratos furiously drove it into Zeus's abdomen, intending to kill Zeus in the same way he had killed Kratos in Rhodes. Athena appeared moments later and charged at Kratos, begging him to stop. Zeus then took advantage of the situation and tried to flee, but this did not escape Kratos' notice. The enraged Spartan made one final attempt on his life, only for Athena to jump in the way and take the blow herself. A distraught Kratos asked Athena why she sacrificed herself, to which she replied, "To save Olympus." She further revealed to Kratos that Zeus and his father and that Zeus is his father and that his actions were driven by fear. Zeus's intention was to finally break the cycle of patricide by killing Kratos, whom he now recognized as the marked warrior destined to bring about the final destruction of Olympus. Athena begged Kratos to forfeit his quest for revenge, warning him that all of Olympus would unite against him and that should he succeed in killing Zeus, the world would be destroyed. By this point, Kratos' sanity and compassion for others had been completely drained, and he vowed to destroy all of the gods along with anyone else who stood in his way. Traveling back in time to the Titanmaki, whatever that says, he brought the Titans with him to the present and led them forth to Mount Olympus to confront the gods one last time. Meanwhile, a badly weakened Zeus calls forth a meeting of the gods, although only Poseidon, Hades, Hermes, and Helios are present, urging them to put aside their differences and unite against their common enemy, Kratos. Moments later, Mount Olympus begins to tremble as the gods look down in horror at the ascending Titans, who are now accompanied by Kratos. The ghost of Sparta yells out to his father, declaring that the reign of the Olympians is now over. And that's where we're going to stop for this lore reading. We will continue this in the next episode. Don't you worry. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I'll see you then.